Welcome back, Sparklers, to another episode of Ignite Your Spark with me, your host, Kim Duff Selby. Thanks for tuning in. You know, I really appreciate it because I really want the world to be happier. Yes, call me Pollyanna. Today, my guest is Lorenda Carr. And if you have listened to me for a while, you know that I love all things woo. I love psychic mediums, who I have with me right now today, all sorts of alternative healing. I love hypnosis. I love rapid transformational therapy. I love it all. And I feel that hopefully you will receive some information that you did not know, some information to help you on your path in life. Because as you know, you are never too old to pursue a passion, to learn something new. So let's learn something new with Lorenda, who is an evidential psychic medium. No, you don't know. I just said, but you don't know yet. She utilizes tarot, numerology, her own psychic intuition, QHHT, I think that's quantum healing, and all that good stuff, past life regression, all sorts of wonderful things. Pretty much she's very cool. And I will tell you how I found her. There is a location in Indiana called Camp Chesterfield. And it's a spiritualist community that I went to with my mother when I was very young for years and years and years. And it's just like that. It sounds all things spiritual and very spiritual. And I get their emails and I saw they were doing these little 20-minute readings, as it were. And I thought, oh, I'm going to do one of those because, I always love that. And I looked through the list of readers available and I clicked on Lorenda. I liked the way she looked. I liked the vibe and had a 20-minute consult with her. It was amazing. She's just darling. And now I follow her on TikTok and Instagram. And I want you to also, because her wisdom and her fun and her nature shines through. Okay, let me shut up. Welcome, Lorenda.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. I know I sort of did a little longer intro, but I
early intro, I'll take it.
Well, when I'm listening to podcasts, I like to know like the scoop. How did someone find someone, unless it's a celebrity that I know, obviously. Before we delve into your story and what you do and how you help people shine their light, how do you ignite your spark?
Good question. So many things. One, of course, with my psychic mediumship, I do past life regression. But what I really love to do is I tap dance. I'm actually a dance teacher. I teach all styles of dance as far as like ballet, jazz, tap. But my spark is tap dance. That's what I've always done. I love it, love it, love it. I actually have a dance company. And I figured out a really great way to always be able to perform professionally and never get fired. It's own your own. You can't fire me. I could give the worst performance ever and they'll be like, oh, that's cute. They can't fire me. So
well, I particularly love that since dance is, my first passion, that and theater. And I love tap dance. I have not taken a tap class in a while, but I love it. I just wish I lived closer so I could come to your studio and be a part of your non-firing company.
Yes.
I think that's great. I love that you shared that with people because I forgot to mention it. And
no, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I do that. And then plus I own a dance studio. So that keeps me pretty busy. So yeah, I teach everything, literally all the dances, because that's what we have to do when you own a studio.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You have adult classes too?
We do. As a matter of fact, funny you mentioned you wanted to take a tap class because we actually, when we started our studio during the pandemic, and my partner and I were working in another place, we just didn't feel comfortable going back. There's a lot of things going on. We're like, okay, this might be the time to start our studio, but how do we do it safely? And we started a virtual studio and we ended up hiring a lot of dance teachers in all over the country because they were out of work. Like we're talking about like Broadway. We had 3 people on Broadway that were on our staff because they were no longer working. And so they were able to teach classes virtually. People were tuning in from their homes. From my basement, I was tuning in. And so we established our studio online virtually. So we still offer that as an option, especially with, COVID coming and going and sickness and just life in general. You have that kid who really wants to come to dance, but maybe mom is sick. they can let us know, and we still Zoom them into our class. We have a physical studio now, but we still Zoom people in, and we'll still Zoom in guest teachers.
Oh,
And
I love it.
they love it.
Wonderful. I might
So
have to.
yeah, I got an adult tap class on Wednesday night. So just let me know.
Okay, perfect. Oh my gosh, I'm excited. I just have to figure out how not to ruin the wood floors. Okay, enough of that. It's not a dance podcast, although
This is
okay.
how we ignite our spark sometimes. And I think dance contributes to what the woo-woo. Dance is the spark that contributes to the woo-woo and raises the vibration. That's where I was going with that.
Okay, no, I like that a lot because we do want to raise our vibration. I'm all about that. We don't really talk too much about that in regular life. I have had obviously guests who have spoken about that, how important it is to raise our vibration. So much I want to go into with you. How did you first discover your psychic abilities?
So what's funny is when I was a kid, I was like, gosh, I wish I was psychic. I wish I was psychic. But I would know things. And being a Gen Xer, the last thing you want to do is complete an adult's sentence when you're a kid. It never ended well. And so I was often, told, hey, children seen, not heard. But I could literally complete someone's sentence. I knew what they were going to say next. I knew when bad weather was coming without knowing anything. I knew there were a lot of things I knew, but I just thought everybody knew those things. Like it was common sense to me. And I would have, cool dreams, but it wasn't until I was much older that I'd always gone to psychics. And they kept telling me, you're going to do what I do. You're a medium. You're going to do this stuff. I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't know. I don't see the dead people. Because I thought in order to do the work, you had to physically see people that were no longer living. So I just thought I didn't have a gift because I couldn't see it. I had no idea that, there were other ways to do this until I was older. And then once my kids got older, I started delving in a little bit more and teaching myself tarot and just deep diving. But it wasn't until, gosh, maybe 2017 that I was at a tap dance festival, and another psychic medium was there. She's a friend of mine, and said, hey, so we were talking about stuff. I said, oh, I'm not a medium. Like I get intuition. I do tarot. And sometimes I'll hear, like, I'll know that a grandma has a message and I'll say it, but it comes through the tarot card, but I'm not a medium. She just laughed. She goes, what do you think a medium is exactly? And I told her, well, see the dead people. She goes, no, that's not how that works, honey. And then so she really broke things down, and she hooked me up with a mentor, and then it's just taken off since then. It's been a crazy, crazy journey to go from completing sentences to now doing the work that I do. And now what's funny is I am starting to see them physically. It's like, that's a clear that's kicking in. They'll sometimes show up for me, but yeah, so that's the really fast, short version of my journey.
Well, it is interesting because I think when we open ourselves up to whatever it is and really open, more of it's going to come in, more of it's going to flood the gates, as it were, but we have to be willing to open ourselves to that. And you were willing at that time. And I really believe, whether some people think I'm nuts or not, that this is the time when the floodgates are opening for so many more people. Those who had just a little tiny bit of psychic abilities are now, if they're willing, like yourself, because the world needs it. I've said this before, I can see a future, I really can, where instead of saying, I'm going to my primary care physician, I got to go to my psychic today. I got to go to my medium today. I really see that in the future, 20, 30 years future, but I think it's such an important thing. And hopefully we can all connect to that part within.
Right. And what will be even better is if we all know how to connect to our higher self, which is what I do in the QHHT. We learn to talk to our higher self and identify things, not replacing medical care, obviously, and of course, but we're able to identify things and say, hey, is this necessary? Like, is this something that's coming from a now life or a past life? You can do that now to a degree. And sometimes you'll get the response will be go to the doctors, you need medication, you know? So I agree. I think that we are headed towards a world where doctors won't be obsolete, but I think medicine will look different.
Mhm.
It will have a little more holistic, whole being, mind, body, spirit component, as opposed to, well, we're just going to look at it from a scientific point of view, just your body, boom, done. But I think I agree. I think with the world opening up and things shifting the way they are, that's where we're headed. I agree.
I really hope so. I really hope so. I won't go into the whole doctor thing now because I go to them, I know that they're important, but I also know that they go, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. And I'm like, yeah, there is. Not, yeah, there is, but something, whatever. What does QHHT stand for?
Quantum healing hypnosis technique.
But you said on your website, you only do that in person.
So that's not true now.
Oh.
For the QHHT, yes, that is registered trademark technique, founded by Dolores Cannon.
Wow.
And you cannot do QHHT as it is with the script and with everything that we're trained to do virtually. Now, I'm also certified in something called Beyond Quantum Healing that does very similar, very, very much the same thing, but can do it virtually. And so, yes, QHHT itself has to be in person, but I've actually had people come in from all over the place to have sessions with me. And now it's kind of nice to be like, oh, are you sure we could do this virtually? I could teach them how to set up a safe space and do it. But what it is you're tapping into a past life or your subconscious, figuring out who you used to be. And your subconscious will only show you what matters for today and your current life and what questions you're asking now. So I even tell people, I'm like, well, even if you don't believe in past life or any of the woo-woo, it doesn't matter. Your brain's going to, your conscious or your subconscious mind is going to show you what the scenarios you need to see and give you the answers you need. Because then once we see those things, we contact the higher self, that cloud that I call the cloud above my head, my actual self, and ask the hard questions and get answers for yourself as far as like what relate any, you name it, whatever questions you have about your life. That's a great resource. So yeah, I only do that in person. It's QHHT.
Got it. But there are other things you do. Do you have a favorite modality that you use, that you prefer using, that you feel most open using, or do you combine a lot of them into your readings with someone?
I do a lot of cross modality, but I really do love mediumship. I love feeling and connecting the energy of spirit, whether it's my guides and then other loved ones. And I also, I really, really, really love channeling and trance work. I'm not quite to the point where I want to offer that as a service, but I love doing that with my colleagues and with my mentor, and taking classes. But I have done inspirational speaking, which is like it's kind of like channeling, during a mediumship reading where a grandmother's like, listen, stop interpreting. I'm just going to talk. And I just say exactly what I hear them or they're impressing upon me. But I'd say out of all of them, because even with a QHHT, with the permission of the client, I can bring their guides in, I can bring their team in, I can feel their loved ones step in. They're getting ready to support them through this journey and help them go through. So I love incorporating the mediumship in anything that I can, with permission, of course, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does to me. I absolutely understand it. And my mind was wandering a little bit and going to a lot of different places there as we were talking about.
I do the same thing.
Oh my God. I'm like, God, there's so much I want to know. Well, what I was thinking is, because I'm this way, it's like, oh, I want to try that, and I want to try that, and I want to try that, because I do believe, as I've said in many times, we all have something that needs healing, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, relational, whatever it is. There's always a way. And it's hard sometimes for us as just to do it on our own. I mean, you said you delved into all this on your own. You learned tarot on your own. You didn't get guided to do this.
Correct. I started doing tarot, and I actually, what I did was, after I started, I just got a book and I started taking notes and keeping a journal and learning kind of like the language, like whatever I would feel when I would Again, not understanding that this was a form of mediumship, but I would open the book, I'd look at the card, and then like it'd almost like be highlighted off, jumping off the page, like I'd know which definition to go with. And so I did start teaching myself. And then I decided I would give in and do a Biddy Tarot. Biddy Tarot is out of Australia, and it big into tarot. And I ended up taking one of their courses. It just really took everything I'd been learning from all these websites, the YouTube, and all these little free workshops here and there, and it put it all into one. And I was like, oh, now it makes sense. And then just taught me how to organize it. And then I was able to start doing readings for people, like via email, just tarot readings and answering questions for people and getting feedback. So it was a really great energy exchange. And so I learned it on my own up to a point. And then, it was really good though that I started taking classes, because when you take classes, you learn the ethics of it.
Mm.
You learn how to, if the death card comes up, it's not because someone's going to die. You have to understand how do you approach this, or if you feel something, how do you tap into it and deliver the message ethically? So there's a whole element of benefit if you take classes. And so I'm glad I did that Biddy Tarot, because this first thing they talk about day one, first page, ethics. How do we do this? But yeah, I started teaching myself, and then I finally got to a point where I could do classes. And then now I'm addicted. Now I teach classes in addition to taking classes.
Let's talk a little bit about that energy exchange, because someone listening might go, well, how could she read tarot over an email? Explain that energy exchange.
Yes, I love talking about this. So people say all the time, well, we talk about TikTok, Instagram, doing lives that way. How can you do things remotely? How do you feel energy? We are all tapped into the same source. We are all part of the same source. We're all tuned into the same energy ultimately. So when I'm reading for someone on an email, okay, I'll see their question in the little email, and then I can tune into my spirit guides, which is how I didn't realize that's what I was doing, but I would say, okay, what do I need to know? And I would lay out the cards. I'd have a specific spread, like to answer I'd formulate a spread that would help them answer their question best. And then I would just be able to, I would feel it. It's hard to explain. Either I would hear words in my head, or I would know it somehow, and I would just type it. And I'm convinced that it's because we are all part of the same consciousness. And it's just a matter of tapping into that consciousness to get the answers that we need. And the feedback I got from the beginning, without sounding like a bragging person, was good feedback, things that I had to also, I had to be okay with putting it out there and knowing that maybe it won't land. Maybe it won't make sense to that person. Letting go of that fear allows that energy exchange to happen. But I can just tap into higher self, to my guides, just tap into whatever that energy is and get the answers, and trust that what I'm hearing is legitimate.
Okay. And you help people now do that on their own.
I do.
Oh, I do love that. Is there any little trick or tip you could give us that to help us get started on that journey of perhaps tuning in, tapping in, practicing with an energy exchange, or connect to our higher self, or however, how would we start this process?
Well, you just laid out questions for an entire year's worth of classes.
Good. I'm signing up.
Okay. No, so how I start I start with them is, first and foremost, if you want to meet your guides, I'll teach people how to meet their guides. And it's actually simple. Like, close your eyes, you do some breathing exercises, and then you ask one of your guides to cover you in their energy. You feel their vibration. It could be as simple as a tingle in a fingertip. It could be a whole body sensation. It may be an image that pops in your mind. It may be a word that pops into your mind, or in your ear that you hear. And you have to honor that. The big thing I tell people is you have to honor what you see, hear, feel, know. And once you start honoring that, the information really does flow through. But that's where I tell people to start, is like, meet your guides. And if you're kind of freaked out by that and you're like, well, I don't know if I believe this, then I'll say, take a tarot card or read a book. open up a spiritual book, read a passage and say, that's what I think about that. And kind of formulate your own thoughts. And then ask one of your guides or someone on the other side, hey, what are your thoughts? Read it again. And you'll hear a different version.
Oh, great tip. That's what I needed. I wanted one thing that someone may not realize or not know. Thank you.
And you can do that in writing. One of the things I tell some of my students when I do like one-on-one mentoring, I'll tell them, get a journal that is pretty, that you vibe with, that you feel good with. Get different colored pens or pencils and do that. Read something, watch a video clip of something, give your opinion, write. You have a pen for yourself, write your opinion. Get a different color pen for maybe your joy guide or for your doctor, teacher, however you believe the guide system works. It's all energy. Okay, what are your thoughts? And write down everything that comes into your mind, even if it doesn't align with what you already think. Write down, or it's just random words. It's a really great way to establish a language. One of the classes I teach is called Learning the Language of Your Guides. And I'll say, okay, maybe you'll take a tarot card and you'll look at it, and whatever jumps out at you, think of a situation, right? You might see, like I said, the death card, you might see a transition. Okay, well, start really thinking about what that means and impress it in your brain, and then maybe do another card. As you're out in public, your guides will start. I found as I started meeting people, I would meet someone new and I would see a tarot card.
Oh,
they started communicating with me through tarot images. And so I was like, oh, you're a Queen of Swords. Oh, you're a Queen of Cups reversed. I should kind of keep my eye. Like they would show me, my brain completely unsuspecting would get like these images of cards. And so when I started first doing psychic readings as well, I would get images of cards when I wasn't using the cards.
oh,
It would show me, and that's how I learned to communicate with them. And then I would start tapping into, okay, well, how do I feel when I see this color? What messages do I get when I see blue or green? And then so just learning how they communicate. It's like no different than learning another language. It really is. If you want to learn Spanish, then you have to start practicing and you're getting yourself in situations and having the dialogue. And it's the same thing with spirit.
yeah. Oh, such good stuff. I'm just sitting here absorbing it all. And part of me was going, how did she learn the meaning of all those cards? I have looked at them and I'm like, how do you memorize all that?
You don't. And that's one thing that I will say about the Biddy Tarot course that I took. I took the master's level as well. After I did I did like 3 years of the feedback and emails. Once I took the master level class, it really, it took all of that out. You learn how to tap into what the card looks like and the vibration of the card. How did you feel when you see that card? What did it make you think of? I might see a card and go, like the Queen of Wands in the original tarot deck has a sunflower. And sunflower has been a theme for me this week. So it's funny that just popped into my head. There's a reason for that. I don't know what it is yet. But when I see the sunflower, I think of turning to the sun to re-energize and rejuvenate and to grow. You're not going to grow in the shadows. You have to turn and grow by facing the sun. And that's what a sunflower does. So I may see that Queen of Wands. It may come up, but I may be really drawn to that sunflower. And that's the message I'm going to believe that spirit wanted me to convey. So it's just getting comfortable and understanding that that's where your guides or whoever your team want you to go.
Okay.
And you don't have to worry about memorizing anything.
All right. Okay. It's so fascinating. When we had our little 20-minute, whatever reading, you started out by shuffling the tarot cards. I guess you just like shuffled away. I was like, whoa, that's so impressive. And that just helps you to, do you do that before every reading or just whenever you sense it or feel it?
Sometimes it all depends. Like if I'm doing a one-on-one, yes, I'll shuffle them. I'll get the energy into them. Sometimes before I do a session with someone, I will pull cards for myself and say, okay, what do I need to know about this scenario? What needs to be on my radar? And so I'll just leave them lay in front of me. I may not even ever show the client. It might just be there. just so I can understand the energy a little bit better. I don't always use them. Now, if I do TikTok lives, it's interesting. If any of you do TikTok, you got to follow me because I'm fun to watch. When I do lives,
Very.
I will shuffle them and I'll say, whoever is supposed to get these messages, bring them in the order that I need them. Because I'm not going to sit here and shuffle 25 times.
Right.
So I will shuffle, put the card deck down, an oracle card deck down for some clarification, and I'll just randomly pick people. And then I pull a card and I trust that spirit is bringing me the right message for that person. Then I'll get a clarification, and like 99% of the time it resonates.
I know that people sometimes they do universal cards for the day kind of thing. That's a little different, or is that similar?
Oh, you could do that too. I actually used to do something called daily vibe check that was for me to get over my fear of being on camera. I would do something called daily vibe check, and I would just pull cards for the day, and I'd say that, okay, you might have a vibration overall of this, this, and this. There might be something coming in your way, but here's the thing. I'm not predicting doom and gloom. If you're walking on a railroad track and you see a train coming, you could either stand there and go, I wonder if it'll hit me. Or you can step off of it and go, woof, good thing I saw that coming because I came up with a better solution. So I would often do the daily vibe check and say, okay, keep in mind that this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. And I would put it into scenarios. Like for instance, if it's a relationship, someone might be grouchy. Here's how you can deal with it. Or just be aware that maybe it's you and maybe you need to do a self-check. So yeah, you can do universal vibrational card pulls like that easily. You can do that as for psychic readings too.
Oh, I like that. That's really fun. I just recently realized people were doing those kind of live things on YouTube and on TikTok, which I just find so entertaining and enlightening. And I think you just have to go in with the right mindset.
Yes. And you have to have an agreement for me, I come from a spiritualist background. That's where my training is in as far as the mediumship, and I do a lot through Camp Chesterfield. So I believe in using the guides. And so now that I've learned to really know them and I have an established relationship with them, I know that I can trust them to bring me who I need and to deliver the exact message they need in that moment that's going to benefit them in that moment for their greatest and highest good. So it's a matter of trust for me, even when it comes to tarot, like every all down to all that. I have to just trust spirit. And that took time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it takes time to trust our intuition. Although, there's that whole thing, women's intuition. Women seem to be much more in tune and tapped into their own intuition. My husband will often say to me, well, what does your gut tell you about this? Because he knows that I have good sense.
Yes.
I mean, women do. What can I say?
Right. And you know what? I think men do, just in a different way. They're instinctive in a different way. Women are wired a certain way, and I would say actually what I'm finding is as we move along in my, my years, I'm seeing a shift in that actually, where, more and more men are becoming more intuitive and honoring that intuition in different ways. Same with women doing, kind of role reverse, more open. I don't even know where to go with that, but I feel like there is a definite energy shift that happens with that. And it is important to listen to our intuition. And the more we learn to listen, I always tell people when you're first doing this work, or even if it's just every day, if you're just rolling along, you're like, oh gosh, should I go this way or left or that way? I always say the first thing you hear is the one you believe. The second one is you talking yourself out of the first thing you hear. Go with the first thing, because the first thing is what your guides are telling you, or your higher self. It could be your higher self. It doesn't matter the source. That intuition is plugged into something a lot bigger than what our self-doubt is.
Beautiful. Perfect. I could go on and on and on with you forever because of course I'm like, well, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to learn this and I want to learn that. And I have been told by other people with whom I have spoken in the psychic realm, and I get that sense that it's time for me to stop taking so many classes and start doing. And I'm working on that. Talk to us a little bit before we wrap up about your different offerings, what you have for people on tap? And yes, we'll go send them to your website as well. But just, you've said development circle, that kind of new though, right?
Yes, I'm actually in the process right now. I'm doing one-on-one mentorship. So I've got students that I will do like what you and I just did. Okay, you're going to work on this week. I find out the goals, why are you here? Some people want to work on just trusting their intuition. Some people want to be professional mediums or move into the professional medium road. So I find out what their goals are and we develop a plan based on that. I also twice a year will offer classes like the learning the language of your guides, Spirit Guide 101, Tarot 101. And I'm actually getting ready to relaunch those again for late fall, early winter, because I just finished those classes. And I'm currently doing a class called Platform Mediumship, and it's more of an advanced class. Like if you've already met your guides, you're already in tune and maybe even practicing mediumship or psychism. How do you put that into a platform like TikTok? How do you keep how do you do 8 readings in 15 minutes? How do you do the platform messaging? So that's the kind of class I'm offering right now, or that I'm in the middle of teaching right now. Development Circle will be coming in October. I'm finalizing those dates and then this week. And what that will be is that's a pretty inexpensive way to pop into a circle. It's not long-term commitment. You pop in when you can. And it's a safe space to explore. You can be an advanced person or you could be a brand new beginner. We teach you how to do the things and you learn from each other. It's a safe space. And again, that'll be coming very soon. So definitely follow, because I'll be putting all that out. And then I'll be doing on the 23rd, I'll be doing what you did for Camp Chesterfield. I'll be doing readings again.
Oh, good. That's good to know. Such a good, I mean, obviously that was beneficial for you. You met me.
Absolutely. It's great.
There are no accidents, Spirit. Hello, universe. I mean, you are meant to meet whom you are meant to meet. We are meant to go through experiences, good, bad, sad.
And you have to allow it. That's the key to all of this, is you allow that to flow through and you just ride the wave. Just ride the wave and you're going to be taken to amazing experiences.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite things is that, we can't help what happens. We can only choose our reactions to what happens.
Absolutely. I say that all the time. You can't control people's actions. You can only control your reactions. That I'm a huge believer in that. And that's what's funny is that's funny you bring that up, because that's a huge message that I needed to be reminded of today in my own life. So thank you for that, Spirit. And thank you for that.
My pleasure. And what is your website? I'll write it in the show notes below so people can also do that. But
okay, it is www.spiritmessagesfromtheotherside.com.
Okay.
And then my other platforms, Lorenda_Carr_medium is on Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
Right. Okay. I will put it all because people can't remember. I just like to have it verbally too. Sometimes people like that. Any other thing that Spirit wants you to share with us before we say ta-da?
Trust what you hear, see, know, and feel. You've got to learn to just trust that, because Spirit will always align you with things in your best interest. Things don't happen to you, they happen for you.
Such a great reminder. Thank you. Thank you for your time, Lorenda. Thanks
for inviting me. This has been wonderful.
Thank you. And to all of you listeners, I hope that perhaps we have opened something up inside of you. That spark has gotten a little bit brighter after listening to Lorenda. And if you have any inclination towards learning more, I do think that Lorenda is very approachable, and it's a very gentle way to learn about your energy, to learn about spirit, to learn about the connection we all have with each other. And so I hope that you might take that step, because I really love her and think she's really cool. So that's my little, promo for the day. Thank you. Thank you, Lorenda. Thank you, sparklers. And go out, have a fabulous day, and shine your light, because we need your light.